do when there's just no money to pay your bills? When you've stretched every dollar and cut back everywhere you can and it still just isn't enough? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I know that this struggle is hard because I've been there. The worry, the sleepless nights, the feeling of being trapped. It's more than just frustrating. It can feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And like no matter what you do, it's never going to be enough. I feel that in my soul. And I know how easy it is to feel like giving up. But don't. Even in those moments when it feels like the walls are closing in, there are steps that you can take to climb out of that darkness, to find some breathing room, and to move forward one small step at a time. Today we're going to walk through a few different things that may be able to help you if you find yourself in this situation. Now, before we dive into that, I just want to make it very clear that we are not lawyers or financial advisors here at Low Income Relief. We're researchers with more than our share of experience being broke. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. So we know that the money isn't there to pay for everything. That's the reality that we're facing. But even when it feels like everything is essential, we have to make some tough choices. So let's start by making a list of all the things that you pay for every month. Don't just rely on your memory. You need to take a look at your bank statements so that you catch any sneaky subscriptions that you may have missed. That way you're not surprised later on. You need to make an honest, detailed inventory of all of your expenses. I know that's not easy. Once you have that list intact, you need to divide it into two groups, essential and non-essential. Your essential bills are going to be the ones that you absolutely cannot afford to ignore. For most of us, this is going to mean housing, utilities, food, and essential medications. If you live in a rural area where public transportation isn't available to you, then it may also include things like your car payment or your auto insurance. These are the essentials, the things that you cannot skip without facing significant immediate consequences that would disrupt your life. Now, when you prioritize your essential bills, you're protecting yourself. You're making sure that you have a safe place to live, that you can stay warm or stay cool, that you have food to eat, and that you can take care of your health. Now, I know you might be thinking, but what about my other bills? Because you may have credit cards, medical bills, car payments, loans, or other payments that feel essential to you. And I get it. It's stressful to let any bill slide. And in a perfect world, we would never have to do this. But when you're stretched this thin, survival comes first. Creditors for things like credit cards or personal loans may add fees or impact your credit, and they may even sue you somewhere down the line. But missing those payments won't leave you without food or shelter in the immediate future. Because the reality is, in situations like this, some payments may have to wait. Your credit might take a hit, but we'll talk later on about how to communicate with your creditors to minimize that damage. Right now, your focus needs to be on keeping your lights on, keeping the heat running, and making sure that you have somewhere safe to sleep at night. So, what are your absolute must-pay bills each month? For me, that's going to be my housing. I've been homeless before, and I never want to go through that again. So my housing payments always come before literally anything else. Okay. So now that we've divided our bills into essential and non-essential, hopefully you'll only have to cut back on those non-essentials for a little while. Now, if that happens, you can expect some late fees, a ding to your credit score, or some annoying calls from collection agencies. If the account goes unpaid for a while, they may end up closing. It's never fun to go through this, and if you have the resources to pay your bills, absolutely do. I don't recommend going through this, but I know for a lot of us, we go through seasons where this just isn't manageable. And just remember, this is a temporary setback. So when things are really tough and you have to make those really, really hard choices where you have to start letting some of those essential bills go, you need to be prepared and understand the risks that you're facing. So if you miss your rent or mortgage payments, there's a risk of eviction or foreclosure down the line. It's one of the hardest challenges to face, but don't give up hope because there are resources that may be able to help you. Things like local housing assistance programs or even legal aid that can help slow down the process and buy you time. For utilities, missing payments could eventually lead to shutoffs or disconnections. But the good news is that many utility companies offer hardship programs or payment plans that may be able to help you. It's always worth calling to ask for help before things get disconnected. In some cases, programs like LIHEAP can help keep the lights on even when you can't afford it. And for food, there are all sorts of different programs out there that can help you with food. Please do not hesitate to reach out to food banks. Apply for SNAP benefits. You can even request a free meal from Lasagna Love at lasagnalove.org. I know it's hard to ask for help, but no one should go hungry. And freeing up even a little money for other essentials can make a big difference. So when you're going through a hard time, I always recommend getting help with everything you can so that you can spend the money that you do have on the things that you can't get help with. Now, if you can't afford your medications, talk to your doctor or pharmacist. They may be able to help you find lower cost options or connect you with assistance programs. There are a lot of patient assistance programs out there that can help with medications, and we have other videos about all of that. Now, once again, I am not a financial advisor or a lawyer. I don't have any of those credentials. I'm just a person who's been in this situation more times than I care to remember. And when I'm facing the toughest choices, like I said, I always prioritize housing and medications first because there are so many resources out there that help with other things. And I mean, keeping the utilities on isn't going to do you any good if you lose your home anyway, right? So nailing down those essentials is so key. Now, I know that sometimes things get overwhelming and you might wonder if there's any way out of all of this. If you're in a situation where your monthly expenses will consistently exceed your income, you may want to consider bankruptcy as a way to get a fresh start. This is a huge decision and it is not one that should be made lightly. So if you're considering this, you can call the free bankruptcy advice helpline from our sponsor, CareConnect USA, at 888-204-7732. They can help you evaluate your situation and connect with resources that can help you get back on your feet. They understand the challenges that you're facing, and they're committed to providing compassionate, non-judgmental support. So before you jump right to that step, though, it's important to see if there's any other help that you may be eligible for first, because, like I said, bankruptcy is a big decision. So when money is tight and the bills are piling up, there are a lot of local, state, and federal programs that may be able to provide temporary relief to you. So let's start with some government assistance programs. These programs are designed to help people who are struggling financially, and many are specifically geared towards seniors. Some of the most helpful programs include LIHEAP, which can help pay your heating and cooling costs, SNAP, which can provide monthly allowance for groceries, Medicaid, which can help cover your prescriptions and medical costs, property tax exemptions, which can lower your housing costs if you own your own home, and even hardship grants. These aren't necessarily government programs. I'm not entirely sure how that made it through to this list. I do apologize for that. The hardship grants that we have listed on low income relief are not government programs. They're usually from private organizations. So that's an oopsie. Sorry about that. And of course, we have other videos on our main channel, and we have articles on our website that dive deeper into each of these programs and can help you figure out how to apply, what to expect, how to maximize your benefits, and so on. There are a lot of options out there, even when you're in a crisis situation. But if you've exhausted all the government help that you're eligible for and you still can't make it work, it's time to take a deep breath and contact your creditors. I know this can be scary, but trust me, this is one of the most important steps that you can take. It's tempting to avoid those calls and letters, but that only makes things worse in the long run usually. When you reach out to your creditors, you're showing them that you're taking responsibility and that you're committed to finding a solution that works for both of you. This can make a huge difference in how they treat you. So here's the good news. Many companies, especially utility companies, credit card companies, and even landlords, may have hardship programs or payment plans available that can assist you in a crisis. These are programs specifically designed to help people who are struggling financially. They might be able to lower your payment, extend your due date, or even pause payments for a few months. When you call, you need to be honest about your situation and ask about any hardship programs or hardship relief that they offer. That's usually what that's going to be called. Now, remember, these creditors are usually businesses, and it's in their best interest to work with you to get paid, even if it takes a little longer or requires some flexibility. But they can't help you if they don't know what's going on. So here's what you need to do. Grab that list of essential and non-essential bills that we made earlier. Call each of your creditors, starting with the ones on your non-essential list. Credit card companies and medical providers often have the most flexibility here. You need to explain your situation honestly. You don't need to go into every detail and you don't need to give them a sob story, but you do need to let them know that you're struggling and give them enough information that they can see what options are available for you. Now, before you start dialing, make sure that you are prepared. You're going to need your account number and a clear and concise explanation of your situation. It helps if you can explain what your future plan is, such as how much you'll be able to afford and when, because that's going to be their number one question. Now, if you're not sure what to say, here's a quick example. Hey, I'm going through some financial difficulties right now, and I'm unable to make my payment this month. I really want to honor my commitment to you guys. Do you offer any hardship programs or options to reduce or delay payments while I get back on my feet? Remember to be polite and respectful, even if you feel frustrated. Don't make promises that you can't keep, and be sure to document everything about the conversation, including who you talked to and when. I have had a lot of success negotiating with my creditors, but as some of you pointed out in my last video about this, it doesn't always work out perfectly. Every situation is different, but even if it doesn't go exactly as planned, I found that it is always worth a try. So I'm curious, have you ever had to negotiate with a creditor? What was your experience like? What tips would you give to others who are facing this challenge? Please share your stories and advice in the comments, because your insights could really help someone else who's going through a hard time. Now, I know that navigating financial difficulty can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can feel completely soul-crushing. It's easy to feel lost and powerless, but it's important to remember that you have rights. Even when you're struggling financially, you're protected by laws and regulations that are designed to prevent unfair treatment and ensure your basic rights. So, for example, if you're behind on rent, your landlord usually cannot just kick you right out immediately. In most cases, they have to follow a legal process. And depending on where you live, there may be eviction protections in place to buy you more time. You might also qualify for legal aid services, which can help you understand your rights as a tenant. Now, those can be very helpful to you. And like I said before, and several times throughout this video, I am not a lawyer, so I cannot give you specific legal advice, but I can share some basic information to help you understand your rights and advocate for yourself. If you have any questions about any of this, please call Legal Aid. You can find a legal aid clinic near you at lowincomerelief.com/legal-aid. Now, in the meantime, here are some things to keep in mind, okay? Debt collectors have limits. They can't do whatever they want. They're not allowed to harass you, threaten you, or use abusive language. They have to follow specific rules about when and how often they can contact you. And if they don't follow those rules, they may actually owe you money under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or FDCPA. You have the right to dispute your debts. If you believe a debt is not yours or is incorrect, you can dispute it with the creditor. You have the right to fair treatment. Creditors cannot discriminate against you based on your age, race, gender, or other protected characteristics. And bankruptcy is an option. If your debt is truly unmanageable, bankruptcy may be a way for you to get a fresh start. But again, do not make that decision lightly. Contact that bankruptcy relief line, see what they can do to help you figure this out. Now, if you're unsure about your rights or you feel like you're being treated unfairly, it's always a good idea to reach out to a legal aid organization for advice. They can often help you at no cost, and it's better to get support than to try and handle everything on your own if you're struggling. Now, I know that we've covered a lot of ground today, from how to prioritize your bills to explore assistance programs, but sometimes, even with all of the best intentions and all of the information in the world, it can still be tough to navigate some of these challenges on your own. And that's where seeking professional guidance can make a real difference. Think about it like this. When you're facing a health issue, you visit a doctor, right? When you need legal advice, you talk to a lawyer. And when you're struggling financially, it's important to know where you can find an expert who may be able to help you. So there are different types of professionals who can help depending on your specific needs. Credit counselors can help you create a budget, develop a debt management plan, and negotiate with your creditors, which can be extremely helpful. Financial advisors can provide guidance on managing your money, saving for retirement, and making smart financial decisions. Debt management specialists can help you consolidate your debts and develop a plan to pay them off. All of these are very helpful. Now, if you're thinking professional guidance sounds great, but how could I afford that? Then the good news is that there are low cost or even free options available. You can call 211 to connect with local resources, including credit counseling agencies. You can contact your local social services agency to see if they offer anything or know where you could go. And you can also ask your creditors, because some creditors offer free or low cost credit counseling to their customers through third parties. So that is something that may be useful to you. Now, there are options out there that can help you, but for now, I want to talk for just a minute about you. Because sometimes when we're so stressed about our finances, we forget to take care of ourselves. And dealing with financial stress can take a toll on you, not just financially, but emotionally and even physically. I know what it feels like to be constantly stuck in survival mode, and it sucks. It's easy to get caught up in that worry and anxiety, but you have to be able to take care of yourself through this process if you're going to get out of it. So, self-care doesn't have to be expensive or time-consuming. It can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to breathe, stretch, or just step outside for some fresh air. Sometimes giving yourself permission to take a break from all that worry is the best thing that you can do. So, here are a few self-care tips that can help you as you're navigating this difficult time. Acknowledge your feelings. Don't bottle up your emotions. Allow yourself to feel stressed, frustrated, or scared. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, or therapist about what you're going through. Practice stress management techniques. Find healthier ways to cope with your stress, such as exercise, meditation, deep breathing, or spending time in nature. Meditation has become a huge asset to me. Another simple but powerful tool is writing things down. Journaling can help you process your emotions and get some of those worries out of your head and onto the paper so that you can let them go. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just a few sentences about how you're feeling or what you're grateful for can bring some clarity. And make sure that you're getting some sleep. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night. Sleep deprivation can worsen your stress, make it harder to cope with your challenges, and make it harder to find a way out of them. Try to maintain a healthy style. Eat nutritious food. Stay hydrated. Avoid excessive alcohol or caffeine. Don't let that become a stress to you, though. Set realistic expectations. Don't try to fix everything at once. Focus on small steps. Celebrate your small wins and your progress along the way, and be kind to yourself. Remember that you're doing your best in a difficult situation. Avoid self-criticism and practice some self-compassion instead. I've been there myself, and I know how easy it is to forget about your own well-being when you're trying to keep your family afloat financially. But your mental and physical health are just as important as paying those bills, guys. You deserve to feel okay, even in hard times. So, what's one way that you take care of yourself when things are tough? Maybe it's a short walk, reading, talking to a friend. I'd love to see your tips in the comments because, like I said, that can really help other people. And don't forget to watch our other videos for more ways that you can save money and get free stuff.